Knicks and Bruises, we are back. Shout out to the chat. Yo, Black, it's time. I got my guy, or should I say the Queen's guy, Jeff
Oh,
Clafter. Yes, both. I appreciate you jumping on. The residential panelist from Dope Soul Sports with the Queen, Jeff Clafter. Happily ever Clafter. .wordpress.com. Go check out his daily blog every single day. What's up, man?
thanks for having me, man. It's a pleasure. It's always a thrill for me because it's like when you're a kid, if you've had a favorite TV show and then you actually get to be part of the favorite TV show. Like, not that that's ever happened, but to me, that's what it's like. So it's like the Jeffersons moving on up. I don't know. I really enjoy it, but thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here, and it's even better when we get to talk about a win, right?
Oh man, yes. It's been tough. I've told Sim the last two games prior to this win. I'm only here for you, man, because I don't want to. I don't want to be here, but I ain't gonna leave you hanging. So, I had to show up when we lost for Sim. It's tough to do it sometimes, but after a win, you know what I mean. It's a whole
I don't
different
know how
story.
y'all do it right after the game. I'm so disgusted and emotional with my takes after a game. I like even a lot of times when Queen and I have been doing it in the morning, it's like so hard to get up and like be rational and be like uh uh you know be able to dissect and analyze it because we're so tied in emotionally. I have much respect to you guys coming in right after the game. That's crazy.
Yeah, it'd be tough sometimes for sure. It'd be tough, but hey, we gotta do it. We gotta be consistent. I gotta be consistent for sure. You know what I mean? I try to model myself by the supporting cast of MBK because let me tell you, these guys inspire me. All of them. Tim, Queen, Ron, Eru, you know what I mean? Like these guys continue to work, and I
A lot
gotta
of
get back
talent.
on it.
A lot of
Yes,
talent,
yes.
yourself included. A lot of
I
talent.
appreciate it. I appreciate it. But let's talk about this game and let's talk about this next game four. But starting with game three, the Knicks did it again. Another 20-point comeback on the road. They continue to like make NBA history because I'm pretty sure that's never been done before twice, let alone three times. Um, it is a testament to their resiliency, but we gotta stop getting down 20. Like, why we gotta get down it before we could get up? You know what I mean?
Or maybe we need to keep getting down 20. It's the only way to win. I don't know.
Listen,
It's bad for us as fans, right? The airline is going to disappear, but you know,
Sim said the same thing, but I can't take it. You know what I mean? My blood pressure, you know what I mean? I'm getting older, but you know what they say, cardiac nicks. You would think where we are now, we would get rid of that cardiac and having to fight and struggle to get these wins. But a win is a win, however you get it. Shout out to the chat, Jarrell in here, Marcel, appreciate you, Pistol P, George Jones, everybody, salute. Um, let me just start with halftime because I didn't get to really watch the full game. I was at work. I watched. I was listening to the first half. I watched about the last 2 minutes, 3 minutes of the first half. Drove home and then was able to really sit down and enjoy the rest of the game. Now the Knicks did end that second quarter on a slight run to cut it from 20 to 13, which was encouraging. Um, but I still wasn't confident. I'll be honest, man. I'm sitting down, got home, got settled. Second half's about to start. I called Queen up and I'm telling her, I'm like, yo, I'm not feeling this. What's going on? She kind of settled me down. It's not over. This, that, and the third. Shout out to you, Queen, because she didn't give up faith. I was ready to give up faith. Um, but Tibbs did some things. He started Mitchell Robinson. That's one thing I was asking for after the second loss of the series. And shout out to Mitchell Robinson because I feel like this is definitely the longest he's been in the playoffs. Like three consecutive. This is the third consecutive round that he's played. I don't think he's finished a single round previous to this year, but his impact is only getting better. Detroit, it was good. Um, Boston, it was great, and I think it's been phenomenal in this series. He's been a difference maker, and that's one of the reasons why I wanted Mitch to start. We talked about it in the last series. Number one, it takes away that threat of the hacker Mitch, because if you're gonna do it to start a game or to start a quarter, when there's no fouls, you're just building up fouls, getting yourself in the bonus early. So that's the number one reason why I wanted to do it. Another reason, his impact on the floor is undeniable, and every team has had problems, right? He's a difference maker. He's getting offensive rebounds. He's playing good defense in the lane and outside the lane. He's getting good steals for a big man. Like, he's really changing the dynamic of us defensively. So I'm glad he made that change. Not everybody wanted that particular change. But what was your thoughts on the change, and how did you feel or think about it prior to it happening? And granted, I don't know if he made like a huge impact in that starting lineup this first game. I think it was kind of new for everybody to adjust to himself, his teammates. You know what I mean? But we did start the game pretty well from what I remember listening to. Indiana stormed back pretty quickly as well. Well, yeah. What was your thoughts on the change? Were you for it? Not for it?
First of all, I was surprised by it. Like, that's not really, in my opinion, Coach Thibs' MO to make a change like that. So good on him for being willing to try it. I mean, there's a lot of content creators and a lot of fans and a lot of folks in the chat who have been calling for a change to the starting lineup since January, because there's a lot of data out there that, for whatever reason, that particular grouping just doesn't work very well. You substitute any one of our bench players, and all of a sudden it becomes elite again. So, which is strange in and of itself. To be honest, and I love Mitch, but I was actually more in favor of Deuce getting the starting spot than Mitch. Just I like what Deuce gives us on the perimeter with this team. I think I didn't think Boston was a good series for him. Detroit was a bad series for him. I don't know why, but he could not guard Dennis Schroeder at all. He was better in the Boston series, but I feel like this is another series where Deuce can really make an impact. And he only played 15 minutes, but in that fourth quarter, I feel like you really saw what he could do. And so I was encouraged by that, but I was really surprised by it. But I'm glad I'm not going to pick Nits over the whole thing. I think he made a change, and it was a positive change, because, as you said, we built a 5-point lead with that starting unit, which is an improvement, right? We haven't been playing from in front at all. Now, we gave it back, but I really thought that, and I didn't get to watch the first part of the game. I was at my dad's house, and I actually didn't get to watch the last minute and a half because we had a tornado watch and we had our internet go out. And so I didn't even get to watch. I literally called my son in Virginia, and he did the play-by-play for me for the last minute and a half of the game. And so that's how, like, I should be in a closet, right? Where, in case a tornado blows the house away, I'm like, forget the tornado. What's going on in the Knick game? So he helped me out. He let me know they won, and that made it all better. But, you're in an elimination situation, better late than never. Maybe it shouldn't have come down to what it was, but, the changes that he made worked. So you have to give him credit for that, or credit the players. If you don't want to give him credit, that's fine. But, I think that's something he's definitely going to keep moving forward, because, first of all, it sounded like players suggested it. It sounded like Josh Hart was like, hey, we need to fix this. And he, it shows you how much Thibodeau respects his players, is that he listened to him.
I did read that somewhere. I couldn't find like the soundbite of it or the actual somebody saying it, but I did read that Josh Hart had been suggesting this for some time now. And kudos to him for being that much of a team guy. You know what I mean? To sacrifice his role and be willing to go to the second unit and not be salty about it. As far as I had no problem with Deuce starting. I think all year from the beginning of the year before Mitchell Robinson was back, there was or even since Precious was back, there were people asking for Deuce to start or Precious to start. Um, I think there's been questions about Josh Hart in that starting unit all year. One thing one reason why I think Hart is always the best guy to be the one to sacrifice. Number one, he's willing to, but his game is not going to change. His impact is not going to change whether he's starting or coming off the bench. If you're putting a guy like Deuce in the starting lineup, I think now you have to ask more from Josh Hart, right? As inconsistent as Deuce has been this year, he still has been our only scoring threat off the bench. So if you insert him into the starting lineup, I think automatically now you're asking Josh Hart to become a scorer rather than just going out there and playing his game, which was the only reason why I was never for Deuce particularly, like as my favorite to be inserted into the starting lineup, because I thought it changed the dynamic of the team too much as far as like what we're asking for from that second unit. If you do it with Mitch, now you're saying Josh just keep doing what you always do. You know what I mean? Like we don't need you to up the scoring per se. You know what I mean? You give us 12 to 15, whatever, we'll take that. You give us your normal rebounding input, we'll take that. You know what I mean? So that was always my thought on that. Let me shout out to Jason Benjamin. Appreciate you for the super chat. He said first team to have 3 20-point comebacks wins in playoff history. Very impressive stat. I've been saying this throughout the year. This team is resilient. I agree. I don't know if I've been saying it all year because that's one of the things that I kind of questioned. I know we were resilient last year, and we was kind of, or I was kind of looking to see, all right, can we get back to some of that resiliency? But yeah, 320-point comebacks, man. Like as bad it is to get down 20, it's got to be. I mean, we know how it feels because we just lost one, game one, giving up that. So that was the first time we got to really feel how it feels in the playoffs, and it hurt. It was demoralizing. It's like, man, we gave one away, which I was reluctant to say because when we did it to the Celtics twice, I didn't like the people who were saying, "Oh, the Celtics blew it." The Celtics, I mean, give us our credit. So I was trying to lean on giving Indiana their credit at the same time as feeling as bad as I felt about blowing those leads.
Both things can be true, right? The Knicks can blow it and the Pacers can, right? In fact, both things have to be true. So, you can look at it one way or the other. I don't think I appreciate the respect. And I'm trying to do that too, because I think this Pacers squad is actually really good. I think a lot of Knick fans assume that, oh, we were hurt last year, but this is a much better team than the one that we played last year. And I did it too. I was like, Neesmith and Nemhard, they can't, but they just make shots. Like that's what they do. And they've done it all playoffs long. And you get a team that shoots 50, 40, 80. That's tough to stop. You have to be on top of your game, and they're never out of a game. And I actually think that it's the modern NBA with the 3-point shot. You're never out of a game. Like it just you can flip the switch in such a hurry, especially when you get to the playoffs, when these teams are so talented and they have so many good shooters. I mean, 9 points is a 3-possession game, right? So you get 3 stops and you get hot. And that's exactly what happened in game one. He hit 5 in a row down the stretch, and they got 3 or 4 stops, and all of a sudden a 14-point lead is a tie game.
Let me step back a second as well, because that I was one of those people. I didn't really respect Indiana. I thought this would be an easy series for us. You know what I mean? Especially coming off that closeout game in Boston. I thought we found something in that closeout game, and I was really looking forward to us, carrying that over moving forward. Um, I was humbled as a fan. I was humbled. Let me tell you. Um, I'd never get the losers lounge comments done before the game is over. I mean, I used to do it, but during the season, I've learned don't even do that yet. Wait till the game is over, then go collect the comments because I've been burnt. Did all my research, got everything ready, and we blew the game. But for it to happen in the playoffs, and that was the first time in the playoffs, I had the comments ready. You know what I mean? I had potential covers ready, sent them in the sim. You know what I mean? And we I was shocked. I was speechless. Even before just that three,
Yeah.
that was
Well, the shot by Halliburton
ultimately a two.
insane. Still,
I
insane.
literally was like jaw drop, trying to say something, couldn't think of what to say. And mind you, I'm by myself, but I just was speechless.
That was everybody. I think that was all of Knick Nation had that seminal experience right there.
So that was the first thing I said on a post game. Like, I'm humbled because I thought we were a lot better than this team. And I'm gonna get this super chat again, and then I'm gonna tell you reference it. So shout out to Jason Benjamin again. He says this run the Knicks are having is impressive to me due to the fact that they made the trade 4 days before training camp and they evolved together before our eyes. And appreciate you, Jason. Just to piggyback off of that, this is a new squad. We've been saying it all year. Like, they need time to grow. They're learning on the fly, learning each other on the fly. Every loss is a lesson as opposed to just a loss. After that game one, Halliburton was interviewed by TNT Crew, and they asked them about their success this year and what they're doing and back in the Eastern Conference Finals. And the first thing he said was he said we feel like we're a veteran group and experience, and he said not veteran based off our age, but our experience and what they went through last year. You know what I mean? And that he proceeded to credit the front office for keeping that team together, bringing back the same crew. You know what I mean? And they also referenced not the Knicks in particular, but throughout the league, a lot of the teams are newly assembled. You know what I mean? New additions. It's not many teams. Boston was one of them. It's not many teams that brought back the same exact roster from last year, and this is their second go at it or third go at it. You know what I mean? And I think, there's a lot to be said about the experience that Indiana has of being together, going through even our series last year where they were down and fought their way back, even though we were injured, and then getting to the Eastern Conference Finals. They got swept, right, by Boston.
Yep, they got swept.
But I don't think they got blown out. I think those games were close, and they had
they did. It's Eastern Conference Finals experience as a group,
yep.
Right? And that is important because they've been here as a team. Like, we have guys who've been to the Eastern Conference Finals, but this is our first Eastern Conference Finals together as the Knicks, and those are two different things, in my opinion. I think that's a great point, Tony.
I mean, absolutely. So, it is a credit to the Knicks that they pushed themselves this far, and they've shown this resiliency. And I mean, it's obvious in watching the starting unit. Everything hasn't clicked yet. You know what I mean? Everything is not cerebral, if you will. Guys are learning each other. I mean, even OG, didn't have a full year last year with us and dealt with injuries after he got to us. So I agree. Appreciate you, Jason. It is a testament to this team and how good they will be ultimately. You know what I mean? Or how great they will be ultimately. I've said it since the beginning of the year. I didn't think this year would be our best year collectively. You know what I mean? This is like a starting point for us, and it should only go up from here.
Hopefully.
I mean, it should. It should. I don't know if I had those same sentiments midway through the game last game. You know, I was questioning everything. There's been a lot of chatter, especially after those first two losses. I seen I forgot the hoops tonight guy. He did a I didn't watch it, but he talked about, you know, the Knicks have to trade Cat and this. I know a lot of people have been talking about that. Obviously, the people that don't like Tibbs have been, you know, Tibbs got to go. You know, they was double triple down on that. Let's talk about Tibbs and some of the other adjustments he made before we get to Cat. Um, Now some say this is due to foul trouble, as far as Shamit playing and Deuce being in foul trouble, 3 fouls in the first half. I do think Wright has supplanted Cam at this point. So I think that's here to stay as far as Wright being in the rotation. I do think Cam is out at this point. Um, I'm up in the air with it because I've said this from last year. I said this year as a concern before any of this transpired. Just me knowing Tibbs, he seems to wait until the last second, the last minute, desperation time to kind of make adjustments, big adjustments, starting lineup adjustments, rotation adjustments. I think I forgot who it was, but somebody who played in the very last game last year, who didn't play the whole series. And he I forget who it was, pardon me, but he had a positive impact, and that was one of the things that stood out to me. It's like, all right, you only played him because it's an elimination game, it's the end of the road, you got no choice, guys are down. Now he didn't wait until, you know, we were about to be like elimination game, so kudos to him for making these changes after 2 losses as opposed to 3. um but what's your thoughts on, like, how do you look at it? Are you looking at it as a positive that, all right, Tibbs made these adjustments, or are you looking at it, he was forced to, it was foul trouble, we might not see Shamit moving forward?
Well, we might not see Shamit moving forward, and but you know, if Deuce is not in foul trouble, do we need to see Shamit? I think DeLon Wright had the best 2.1 assist performance in the history of the NBA. What a difference maker at the point of attack, and the ability of that unit defensively. Look, I think, especially if we get a lead in the fourth quarter, I think it would be wise of him to go back to that alignment. And it's funny because I want to give credit to Jericho Sims. He helped the Knicks win a playoff game because he's the guy we traded to get DeLon Wright at the trade deadline. So we finally got something good out of Jericho Sims, family.
Oh, Marcellus, it was Grimes. It was Grimes because Grimes was out of the rotation, and then you know, he played some good minutes in that last game. Pardon me, Jeff.
No, that's okay. I think that that's kind of my big $1 million question moving forward. Is this, did we kind of luck into a solution and then we're going to go away from it, or did the coaching staff kind of understand and realize that they have a formula here? And I think the formula is this: 4 defenders with Jalen Brunson, or 4 defenders with Cat. And it doesn't matter which one, and have the overlap between. Now you can't, you know, they both have to play more than 24 minutes. So you have to have some overlap. But if you can minimize that overlap, that makes it difficult on the Pacers defense to target just one player. If you have just one weak defender on the floor, you can usually recover. When you have 2, it's a lot more difficult. But also, especially with Wright and Deuce, what I noticed, they pressure the ball 94 feet. And the best thing that you can do to a pressing team is to apply pressure to them.
And they took a formula out of what the Pacers press all game long. All game long. So I agree with that 100%. When I saw that pressure, that was that's new for us. You know what I mean? Deuce pressures the ball, but to have two guys doing that for the extent that they're on the floor was new, and I think it did affect the Pacers. It did slow them down the same way, we're taking 14 to 18 seconds to get into our motions, and we had that outcome for them a few times. So I agree.
And not only that, but the Knicks are used to that, right? That's our style. For the Pacers, they want to have a shot up by 8 seconds gone in the clock. They're not even getting the ball across the timeline until then. And so now you're talking about having to manufacture offense, and it allows the Knicks to be better on their rotations. And they were like bees swarming in that fourth quarter. It was a thing of beauty. I know you love defensive basketball just like I do. I know you were sitting home like, this is incredible. And even with Towns on the floor, it was incredible. And so they were doing a good job. And what happens is when they don't get those early actions and you're able to put the clamps on them, so to speak, I felt like every possession for the Pacers in the fourth quarter was a potential shot clock violation. Like, that's how good the Knick defense was for probably for about 8 minutes. I think they had 5 makes in the fourth quarter, the Pacers did. And I watched them. Every one of them was a contested, difficult shot, and they missed like 14 of them. So is that defense sustainable? I don't know, but I also know this. When you're pressing 94 feet, that is tiring. When then you have to turn around and you're getting pressed too, even if you're playing a bunch of guys, and they played 11, it wears on you. And all of a sudden, the team that was fresher down the stretch in both the end of game one and overtime of game one and the end of game two was not so fresh. And what happened? Josh Hart, Mr. Hustle, is fresher, and he gets not 1 but 2 key rebounds. He's got more legs under him. He makes 4 of 4 from the free throw line.
And that was missing. Those key hustle plays were missing from Josh Hart down the stretch. Those first 2 games. I agree. Let me shout out Jack City. He said, Tony, would you want to see Precious sighting, or are you cool with the 4 that came off the bench? Honestly, I feel like if Shamet is not in, like you're suggesting, he may not be in. It may have been due to Deuce's foul trouble. I do believe one of Shamet or Precious should be a rotating decision based off the need. Especially if we're starting Mitchell Robinson next to Cat. I was surprised there was no Precious minutes at the backup 5. I thought that would have automatically elevated him into a backup 5 situation, or sparingly. You know what I mean? Like, but the surprisingly, those were the 2 centers for the game.
That's a fantastic point, though, Tony, because I kind of felt like Mitch was a little bit gassed with the volume of minutes that he played. And so maybe you don't be afraid to go to your bench, plug in Precious even if it's just for a couple minutes at the end of the first half, or a couple of minutes at the start of the fourth quarter, or at the end of the third quarter,
or in the middle, because we like I say the middle as opposed to the end, because one of the key things that we have to continue doing is ending quarters well. And
3 out of 4 quarters in that game. You're absolutely right.
So not no knock on Precious, but I let's end it with the guys who've been. If he's playing well, then keep him in. But you know what I mean. But
I don't think he'll be a negative in this series, though. I think he's got a lot of switchability. I think this is a series where if they did bring him in, he could play pretty well. I think that he could guard Siakam a little bit if he had to. He can switch pick and roll, and they spam pick and roll better than anybody. So I think from that standpoint, you could use him. The offense really isn't there, but I'm at the point where I don't really care if the offense is there in this series. I think if you can get this to be a lockdown series where every possession counts and you're counting on offensive rebounds and making it ugly, making them use a lot of shot clock. We're using a lot of shot clock.
Precious does fit there.
I think Precious fits there, and I think it allows Towns and Brunson to shine more, with the people that are surrounding him. I think our odds are a lot better of winning a 106 to 100 game than they are a 123 to 118 game.
100%. But yeah. So to your question, I do think I wouldn't mind seeing them, but I think it should. I'm not for all right. Precious got to play. Shamet got to play. Wright got to play. Like I'm not for everybody playing every game, but what's needed? What Thibs says, the game will dictate what to do, and I think the same is true for you as a coach. The game will dictate, what to do. So if we need some rebounding, if we need some defense, we need that switchability. Yes, put Precious in. You know what I mean? If we need some shooting, if Deuce is in foul trouble, you know what I mean? And yes, put Shamet in. So I think it should change. Marcellus also asked about Hukporti. Like Kavan said, Hukporti won't play. I think he's too green. It's too late into the postseason.
Indiana's offense is too complex too. I just would worry that a rookie would get lost in the sauce, and like they do a lot of actions, and it's a lot on a rookie in that spot too. And look, I was wrong about DeLon Wright, so you never know, but I would be real leery of bringing him into that.
If he plays, it's either really good or really bad. Like either we're up 40, you know what I mean, or
I don't think Thibs is clearing the bench again after what happened in game one, though. Do you? Like I think he's gonna be real reticent to clear the bench after giving up a 14-point lead in 2.5 minutes.
That's a great point. I mean, again, we up 40 with 2.5. I think you're safe, Thibs. But I agree. Yeah, it's either really good or really bad if situation if Hukporti's in the game. I have confidence in him because I think his skill set, his athleticism, I think he could help, but I don't think there's too many people. I think there's too many people ahead of him in the pecking order to even really get that opportunity.
I think I'm at the point though where I don't necessarily care which 9 guys. I just want it to be 9 guys, and I want it to be 9 guys where the 4 guys off the bench all get at least 10 minutes. You know what I mean? And that's kind of what we saw. We saw McBride, Shamet, and Wright got about 10 to 15 minutes. Josh Hart was our other guy off the bench. He got 30-something minutes. And then the starters were all in the 30s. Actually, our bench played more than Indiana's bench in that game, which is crazy. But I think that's the right formula. And I think if he'll trust that group, he'll get better results on both sides of the ball, because I think the fresher that they are come the fourth quarter, that's going to help in winning time. And even Brunson, who had an awful game for him, like one of the worst games I've ever seen him play in the postseason, made a couple of big shots down the stretch. He made a couple free throws. He had the big bucket because
right off the bench,
right
off the bench.
Yep.
Oh yeah, no hesitation. I ain't even gonna lie. I got nervous even with that, just because of the way he wasn't having a great game, like you said. We were cooking. You know what I mean? I got a little nervous. Is he gonna be clutch or? And honestly, ever since he missed that layup that would have ended the Detroit series? No, the Boston, was it the Boston
I don't
game?
remember. I know the play you're talking about.
But ever since he missed that layup and went into overtime, I don't think he's been the same as far as like his clutch performances. Like it's almost like that power got taken away. I think he's itching and getting it back slowly, but it was like he was supposed to make that layup, you know?
Yeah.
Oh man. Oh, Latrell Sprewell, appreciate you. He said Deuce needs to play more around 25 minutes, or I'm gonna be really, really angry.
Well, remember he picked up 3 fouls in like 90 seconds in the first half of last game, and
so
then
he probably would have played more.
Yeah, if he wasn't in foul, like he would have gotten the same burn in the first half if he did as he did in the second half if he weren't in foul trouble. So I don't think you have to worry a whole bunch, Latrell. I don't think he's in Thibs' doghouse by any stretch of the imagination. No. Thibs loves him. He does a lot of good things for us. He typically does a decent job on TJ McConnell, or as good a job as anybody on the Knicks does against TJ, because we can't seem to handle that kid for whatever reason. But yeah,
it was Boston. What was that, game 3 or game 5? But yeah, it was Boston. And yeah, I don't think he's really been good, but not in the clutch. It hasn't been the same since he missed that.
But that may just be regression to the mean, because he was so like he was otherworldly insane.
I agree.
Nobody's ever been that good. So maybe it's just
sometimes you got to balance out. I agree 100%. And just his run in general over the last couple of years has been that, you know what I mean? Like you could, it's been incredible. So at some point, you can't expect that every single night. You know what I mean? Just like you can't expect to come back from 20 every single night. You know what I mean? So we got to figure out, ways to get him some easier ones to where it doesn't have to be a clutch situation every game.
But that's why I like Deuce in the starting lineup. Because if you have Deuce in the starting lineup, then you can play Brunson off the ball. And then you can get him some looks off of screening actions, which are wide open catch and shoot opportunities that he doesn't normally see. So he's not having to do the dance, right? We've all seen him do the dance. He's trying to beat 5 defenders and 3 officials and, get a bucket. And nobody's better at doing that than him. But that's a lot of wear and tear. And sometimes that's bad decision making and leads to turnovers and bad shots sometimes. That he's such a great shot maker that we're kind of spoiled to the fact that, that's not necessarily a good shot, but Jalen Brunson makes it anyway, right? Mm-hmm. Because that's who he is. And to me, it's more so the careless turnovers. And we saw that like in the second quarter, especially when they made the run and went up 20, the Knicks were throwing the ball. They were literally handing the ball to the Pacers and leading to a fast break down the other end. It was 16-2 in fast break points for the game. I think almost every single one of those came in that second quarter run. And it was just, when we didn't turn the ball over at all, I don't think, in the first quarter. Then we turned it all over exclusively in the second quarter. And then we took care of the ball pretty well the rest of the way. In the third and fourth,
they had two fast break points in the second half, and it was the Obi top and lob dunk. Was the only fast break point in the second half. So yeah,
and Obi was great, by the way. He was like plus 19. He was. I don't know how he only got like 15 minutes. He was phenomenal in that game.
A lot of times with Obi, when you got it. You see he's plus 19. You gotta box that up. And, you know what I mean? Like you give him more minutes, it's gonna
go down.
It's gonna start shifting.
All right, we did good in that lock. That's about all we can expect. Yeah, I got you.
I mean, it because he's had some good moments in games in the series. I think he's been good, but it's been limited, and I think that's how you got to treat him to maximize and not hurt his.
Shamet got in his head a little bit when he drew that offensive foul on him. Remember that play? He was backing him in.
Yeah,
Obi
yeah,
was
yeah,
backing
yeah, yeah.
Shemet,
Pulled
and
the
Shemet
chair. Yeah.
pulled the chair, and he got called, and he kind of missed an awkward shot anyway. When Toppin, that messed with Toppin's head. He was like,
What I loved about that though was the fire. You know what I mean? You see Sherry yelling like you haven't played. You know what I mean? All series or postseason, pretty much. But you still got that fire. You know what I mean? In the moment when you come up with a good defensive play. So I love that moment for him. You know what I mean? Like, and that showed like I ain't played, but I'm still locked in.
the
You know
other
what I mean?
moment that was similar, different player, but when OG blocked Nembhard to the moon, when that
When he tried to back him down.
But those plays were emblematic of the Knicks defense in the fourth quarter. I thought that those were the winning plays that have been missing. If you're going to win games, if you're going to make comebacks, you've got to get stops. And when a team shoots 50% from the field and 40% from three, and they shoot 30 plus threes per game, it makes it really difficult. When they're 5 of 25 from three and they're having to work their tails off for everything they get, plus try and defend on the other end, that's a completely different story.
Yeah, I agree. Let's talk about Cat real quick before we jump out of here. I know
7 up.
Still Knicks fans should be on at 9, so I'm gonna get off, relatively soon. But Cat, man, I mean, he was having a bad game,
Terrible game. He had 4 points through 3 quarters.
4 points those were in the first half, right?
Yeah.
4 points in the first half. Scoreless in the third. Foul trouble again. I know Deuce had foul trouble.
Brunson. Deuce, Brunson, and Cat all in foul trouble in the first and second half.
And Hart down the stretch, I think, right? I think
but I didn't really count that as foul trouble because there wasn't much time left in the game.
Yeah.
I don't know. Let's see how many fouls Hart had.
He might have had 4.
He had 4. He had 4. But both Towns and Brunson had 5. And McBride finished the game with 3.
No more fouls after the first half. But that Cat situation, playing with 5 fouls, you know what I mean, down the stretch, and still being aggressive offensively. 20 points in that fourth quarter. And I love what he did, but why can't we have that for 4 quarters? I'm not saying score 8. I'm not saying score 80 points. I'm saying the mindset. You know what I mean?
I know exactly what you mean.
The mindset. If you play like that, aggressive, attacking the rim, getting to the rim, as opposed to the fadeaways and the the floaters. And I think he's hampered by being so talented. You know what I mean? Because he knows I could throw up a running floater and make that shot. And it looks phenomenal when you do. So sometimes he settles for that as opposed to just putting his shoulder down and saying, I'm getting all the way to the rim. And that's what we saw from him in that fourth quarter. That and-one dunk, you know what I mean? Like, you should get 1 attempt of those every game. You don't got, I mean, it may not go down. It may not be an N1, but you should have an attempt like that every single game. At least 1. But yeah, he carried us. Brunson on the bench. Like you said, both guys in foul trouble. Hopefully, this unlocks something. Hopefully a light bulb has come up in his head.
Well, I think that the Pacers are going to cover him differently next game because in that fourth quarter, it was mostly Bryant or Turner on him one-on-one, and he absolutely murdered that coverage. They didn't send a double team or anything at him, and he just cooked. And not that he can't cook everybody else because he can, and he should have been 22 points. But
who's that other big man that they have?
That's the guy. It was not.
Yeah,
Brian.
I was gonna say it wasn't Brian.
Absolutely right. It wasn't Brian. It was what's that that
Oh,
dude that
the,
came off the what's his name? Bradley, which
yes.
makes it even worse. Like you can't cover Cat with a bench scrub. Like
But I think the reason they went with Bradley is because in his spot minutes the previous game, he was good and he was a lot better than Bryant. I think Cat has been cooking Bryant
okay.
all series, and that's why they went with Bradley. And to me, I feel like what Cat did then, and maybe it took some time. Bradley hasn't played. He wasn't on no scouting report. You know what I mean? Like they
Yep.
kind of threw him in. He played well and kept him in. I'm talking about game 2 now.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe Cat needed to figure him out. You know what I mean? This is a guy that, you know what I mean, wasn't used to going up again. Probably wasn't on a scouting report. They didn't have the film on him and things of that nature. So I'm hoping, all right, Bryant can't guard me. I'm hoping now none of these bigs can guard him, like you said, and a light bulb goes off. I don't know what they could do different.
Yeah,
I think
Turner had 5 fouls. I guess that was part of it. I didn't realize Turner was in foul trouble, but Bradley, to me, and I hope they don't. But why wouldn't you send the double team? You know.
Well, all right, that could be true. That could be true. But what I'm saying is, I don't think it's about them. I think it's about Cat. He played with his back to the basket. You know what I mean? He attacked the rim. He was aggressive from the 3-point line, which, like, these are things that we have to see from him on a nightly basis.
100%.
You know what I mean? I think that's the difference. And I felt like he should have been a mismatch the entire series. You know what I mean? But it's about him asserting himself and us finding him. If it has to be the non-Brunson minutes, but he has to have a moment every game where all right, it's Cat time.
Yeah, because we needed him. We didn't have Brunson. We needed to manufacture points. We were down 10, and they just Deuce did a great job of making sure the ball got in his hands during that fourth quarter. And let's not underestimate the 8 rebounds he had in the fourth quarter either. I think he out-rebounded the entire Pacers squad in the fourth quarter, in addition to tying them on the scoreboard. And really, it should have been 22-20 Cat because they stole that 2 points from him on that bogus travel call. So I'm going to say that he outscored the entire Pacers team by himself in the fourth quarter.
And to your point, I think we beat the refs as well. Because, I mean, granted, the one block on Deuce McBride, which was called the foul, was clearly a block. So that one went in our favor. But I thought both coaches' challenges, Thibs and Carlisle, should have went in the Knicks' favor, and both of them on a challenge, on a review that you could clearly rewatch it as many times as you need to. I thought they got both of those wrong.
The Deuce play was a foul was the contact with the body. He has it. He has a clean block up top, but what he does is he jumps into the player, and that's where the contact with the body is created, and that is not verticality. Verticality is you're standing straight up, but if you on the replay on that one, he jumps towards him, and when you jump towards him and there's body contact, that's a foul regardless of what happens up top. I'm still stunned that they called it, but you know what? That was a difference in the game too. In the first half, it was like 16 fouls to 10 in the Pacers' favor. By the time the game ended, I think they were called for 27 and we were called for 25. So when it balanced out a little bit, they all of a sudden couldn't quite run away with it so much.
Well, I stand corrected, but you know, I was just trying to give the refs some credit and say they got a couple of them in our favor, but I felt like they missed a lot of calls and they got a lot of calls wrong that went against us. And I felt like we didn't argue, you know, we weren't talking to the refs.
I know you're trying to get out of here. Can I ask you a question right quick?
Absolutely.
What do you think is the deal with Brunson being in foul trouble so much? Like this is not a new like during the playoffs. Is it just that he's getting hunted more? Does he need to play smarter? Why is he picking up like his fouls per game? This is a guy who never fouled out of a game in a playoff game until the Boston series, and now it seems like he has 5 fouls like
I
every
think that
game.
I think that's exactly what it is. I think the Celtics gave Indiana the blueprint, and if that's his weakness, why wouldn't you do it? And not just Brunson, they're doing it to Towns as well. You know what I mean? Like Towns, we know he's had foul trouble throughout the year. You know what I mean? We know that was a thing, so it's not new for Towns. But I think, like you said, they're hunting both of them.
My thing with Towns is he gets hit harder. Well, Brunson also, they get hit harder the same way that they get called on the other end. And that, to me, like, if you're going to call it a foul, yeah, most of the time, yes, it's a foul. But then give that same call to me on the other end. You can't just let them hit and smack. Like, literally, the video showed one of the Indiana players had him across the neck with no foul. Like, what is going on? And so, but again, I think you mitigate that when you just have one of them on the floor at a time as much as possible. Limit that to 6 to 8 minutes where they're on the floor together. Trust your bench. Run 9 minutes, 9-man rotation, and always have at least one of Towns or Brunson on the floor. Always. And let them, while they're cooking, they're the focal point of the offense the entire time that they're out there.
Yeah, 6 minutes a half, or not a game. You got
in a game. In a game, because I'm thinking 24 minutes for one and 24 minutes for the other. So you're going to have 6 to 8 minutes. So you get that way, you get them up to 30, 32 minutes. Like, okay. I think that's, if you need to play them more, you can, but I think they probably play closer to 37. So it may be closer to 10, but you steal those minutes. In other words, that's like a bench player minutes instead of, I think that staggering is important with this matchup in particular.
For sure. I am Jarrell. That's exactly what I was gonna say. I think it's the smart thing to do. I think I was surprised it wasn't utilized throughout the year more by opposing teams, just attacking Brunson. But I do think that's what it is, and they're doing it with intent. You know what I mean? Like they're doing it with intent, and some of it is Brunson, like Jarrell said, he has to be better. And a lot of the times, 2 out of the 5 was probably bad fouls. Like he clearly fouled. Like I'd rather you give up the layup sometimes or give up the shot sometimes because you're so important.
Towns really only gets 4 fouls because he's going to pick up 2 on the offensive end. So he really only has 4 defensive fouls per night to deal with because he's going to get caught on the hook or the swim or the elbow, or on his drive to the basket, a high elbow, something, or a moving screen, something.
Yeah. Jeff, man, I appreciate you. I feel like I could go longer, but you know what I mean?
We need to be respectful of Ron for sure. Thank you so much for having me on the show. It's been a pleasure. It's so much fun to talk with you and be with the chat, and no Queen's Court tonight. So it was kind of getting my fix, so to speak. So I appreciate that very much.
Hey, I appreciate you joining me, man. This was fun. I'm about to go do my garbage night, and then I'm gonna tune in to Still Knicks fans. Shout out to the chat, man. Always coming through for me. Appreciate you guys. The replay gang, as always, silent viewers, silent listeners. Super chats. Appreciate y'all as well. Jeff, I haven't checked out the blog in a couple of days, so I got some catching up to do.
Well, you're gonna want to read today's and tomorrow's, because tomorrow's the recap and today's you're mentioned in today's. So you
I'm definitely gonna start there, but I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go backwards and see how much I can stomach of your thoughts after those 2 losses.
Those are there too, but. I only recommend talking about the win. It's much more feel. I'm the gloom and doom guy. You don't want to read those posts.
No, now I could read them. You know what I
Yeah, that's
mean?
good.
I mean, I couldn't read it right afterwards
I understand.
because I was already deep in my own thoughts and feelings and
They're
you
hard to
know.
write. I'm telling you. Sometimes it's just you have to make your fingers clack on the keyboard. It's just like frustrating. But
No, I feel you. I feel you. But yeah, everybody go check out his blog, happily ever happily ever clafter.wordpress.com. It's all there every day. Great stuff. I've read about 6 of them so far. You know, I like to read them on my lunch breaks at work, and so yeah, man, keep doing that. And
thank you.
appreciate you joining me. I got your we linked in now, so I can reach out. You know what I mean?
Out.
Whenever I need you or whenever you want to jump in.
Just send
And
the clap signal, and I'll be here.
I, I appreciate you, bro. Until next time, your blackest time. We out of here.